When I first saw the business opportunity, I actually was a single mom, had an 8-year-old son and was working at a restaurant. I had been a professional cake decorator for several years before that, and I needed to spend more time with him, so I took a cut and pay and then went to work for a restaurant for a friend of mine so that I could be able to spend more time raising my son. The problem was that I took a huge cut in pay, and so when I was presented with this opportunity, I was really looking for a way to create additional income. And we lived on macaroni and cheese and top ramen. In fact, my son used to ask, "What's for dinner?" I said, "Mac and cheese, and you're fixing it." It was really kind of, that's just where we were in our lives. And so what I originally saw was a way to make some additional money without having to take a lot of extra time away from my son. And so that's how I got started. And through the association with David and April, actually became really developed into a whole lot more. I went from being a person who couldn't even have a conversation with people hardly at all, to where I just through the course of life events have been able to travel and speak to people at all different levels, including senators and congressmen and that. So it's been a pretty amazing journey just to see the transformation of just this wallflower to someone who really had a purpose and wanted to make a difference in people's lives. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things, was that I've always had a heart to help people, but I didn't really have a vehicle to do it. And didn't really like working for somebody else. I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, just never had a vehicle in which I could do it. I overcame the fear of talking with people through a lot of books, reading, and just associating with other people who were successful and who believed in me. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things, is that David and April believed in me, and they continued to help me, because I honestly didn't believe in myself. And through the association and just hearing that enough and having people pour into my life, began to believe in myself. And a lot of reading, a lot of self-growth, and a lot of that was finding a reason why, and having a purpose. And being able to provide a lifestyle for my son, that became more important than anything else. I originally started with the people I knew, because I just saw this as an amazing opportunity, and I just couldn't see why everybody else wouldn't want to be involved in it too. Soon I ran out of that. A lot of them just didn't want to get involved with me, and consequently I had to learn to go out and start talking to people, which wasn't very comfortable. And I started just with simply being challenged just to say hi. So I made the transition of being able to say hi to people into being able to tell them about business by a lot of rehearsing in my car. I would rehearse conversations, I would practice. As I was driving, I was always talking, and I was, "Hi, I'm Shaunna. Do you ever look for ways to make additional income? Or have you heard of digital commerce?" And so I actually just rehearsed over and over and over and over and over and over. Originally, when I was in the process of looking for people, I started just showing it to everybody. And I didn't find that that was working very well for me, and so I really got good at identifying what the person was looking for. If you find a need, and then find a way that I could fill that need. So I got really good at starting with an opening question and letting them do the most talking. He who says he who speaks first loses. And so I really got good at asking a question and then being quiet. My why to get into the business was originally to provide for my son a lifestyle that I felt he deserved, and to be able to spend time with him, because I just worked. At one point I was working 2 full-time jobs to keep a roof over our head, because I believed in that I was the one who was responsible to take care of our needs. And so that originally was my why. And a few years ago, he was serving in Iraq. And I had sat down and I wrote out a list of 100 things and got that down to 5. And that original 5, the top reason was so that when he came home, he would be able to do whatever he wanted to do. And that meant sitting while playing video games, that's what he could do. And so I went to work, and that's what I did. And that became an obsession for me. I got passionate about it. That the reason for doing it was just so strong. He had deserved that. So about 5 years ago, while I was in the process of building this for my sons, to be able to come home and do whatever he wanted, he actually was killed in the war. And that, it was a short time later that I started, sorry about that. It was just a short time later that the seeds that I had planted began to come to fruition. That all the time and the energy that I was putting into building it for him, actually I began to see the fruit of that. And so that's brought me to where I am today. I did, several years ago, began to lose a little bit of that dream, because that was my purpose and why. That was my why. And so I had to begin to find a new why. And it was about a year ago that David Humphrey shared in one of his talks from stage about never stop writing the next chapter of your life. And I realized that not only had I stopped writing, but I had written the end and closed the book and put it away. And I just was going to just fill out the rest of my time. And I made a decision that day that I needed to start writing a new volume. And so I began a new quest and a new purpose. And at 50 years old, about 2 weeks later, met and have 6 months after that, married my husband, and developed a new reason, because now I have a new purpose and a new reason, because I want to spend time with him and time with those that I love. So